Hello and welcome to the third and the Don Football Show. I am Joe. With me is Cecil, as always, here to talk some NFL football. We have a lot of stuff going on. This season's already been crazy enough, but we have some even more crazy stuff going on in the league right now. Cecil, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm great, man. As I said, when your team wins on Sunday, especially against a rival, food tastes better. Beer tastes better. You got a little pep in your step the entire week. So I'm excited about that. My fantasy teams are all doing pretty well right now, so that's a big thing as well for all of my money leagues. Um, I am a lock in two basically, and then I control my own destiny in a third. So I'm excited. Everything's going well right now, and ready to talk some more football.
Absolutely. I've had two straight comebacks on Monday Night Football in our fantasy league together, our home league, and that has been fun. That has been a lot of fun because I've honestly given up on a lot of matchups this year, and I've just come back and won. That's what I do. So excited for fantasy football. Excited for the Bengals. We're going to get into it now. See, it's week 11 of the NFL season. Time is flying by in this NFL season, and I do not like it. But the Thursday night game was actually a good one for once. We had the Tennessee Titans at the Green Bay Packers. The Titans won 27 to 17. The offense for Green Bay just didn't really have it. They've obviously had issues with injuries all year long, and this it was kind of like the culmination of all those injuries. The Titans had a good game plan. They wanted to run the ball at Derrick Henry, but Green Bay focused on stopping the run. He had 28 carries for 87 yards. I like that they stuck with it. But the star of the game was Ryan Tannehill, 22 of 27 for 333 yards and two touchdowns. Again, I think this is a product of Tannehill did play a good game, but the Packers sold out to stop the run. Tannehill lit them up, and Tennessee Titans won by 10 points on the road.
They did, and it was a shame for the Packers that seemed to have been doing so well after that Dallas upset win. To kind of go back to the same old, same old. Christian Watson, had some good plays, but again had some rookie kind of mistakes. You can tell how unpolished he is at times when it comes to finishing routes. Keep getting his head around. And just these receivers in general learning how to move around when Aaron Rodgers was around the pocket. Back when they were so successful, that is kind of was the key a lot of times is Aaron Rodgers would make a move with his feet and the receivers knew what to do from there. That was just find soft spots in the zone and get open. They don't do that as well now. They kind of just stand around and just keep running back and around in coverage, and it doesn't make any sense. So there's a struggle there. Aaron Jones, got the ball a lot, which is a huge focal point for them. But the defense, they didn't play in well for Ryan Tannehill and this Traylon Burke show that seemed to come up in this game. So I mean, if they can get a semblance of a passing game like that, it doesn't have to be even as good as it was this week. Week to week basis. They get Traylon Burks involved early on. I mean that's a formula for success, right? They're gonna use the pass. They're gonna use the run to set up the pass. Um, People do not expect them to pass the ball with Derrick Henry. Now, does that mean you don't keep making Derrick Henry the focal point of your offense? Of course not. It's good to have that second option. It's good to go. I can't just stack everybody in the box. I do have to protect just in case there is that play action. Because if I don't, I know Ryan Tannehill and Traylon Burks are going to go deep. Defense keeps trying to play very well. They keep suffering injuries, especially in the front seven, which is hurting them. But yeah, I mean, all in all, another great win for the Titans, especially in Green Bay and that cold. That's never a fun place to play when the weather turns. And, they're a dominant team and show why they are such a good team in the NFL. And really, they're just a team that plays better than the sum of their parts. And, it's always a good game to see when they're firing all cylinders.
Yeah, absolutely. They're on fire right now. I'm excited to see what they can do in the stretch when this starts to go to the winter months and Derrick Henry runs the ball a lot. So we'll see what happens down the stretch if they get a higher seed like they did last year and maybe can go on a little bit of run here. On Sunday, we had the Chicago Bears and the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons won this one 27 to 24 on a Young Ho Koo 53-yard field goal. This was a game that was back and forth. It was kind of you never knew which way it was going to go. There wasn't a lot of offensive yardage, but there were a lot of offensive points, I guess, 27 to 24 being kind of a decent number of scoring points, especially for these two teams. Justin Fields didn't have his greatest game. He had 153 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 85 yards rushing, 1 touchdown. But he did separate his shoulder. The Bears are going to play through that, play him through that the next couple weeks. But yeah, these are two teams that probably not making the playoffs, so I don't really have too much more than that. But it's sad to see Justin Fields, as soon as he gets going, that he has to go down with an injury.
Right, and we at this point the Falcons' playoff hopes are really just fading away. Tampa Bay seems to be doing a little better, and they should be in control of the NFC South soon. But ultimately, it's just one of those. Right, he's going to run around the field. The Bears are very much committed to that at this point, which is great for the future of the franchise. One of the risks you do run with that, though, and this is always the big caveat to getting a running quarterback and all that, is he opens himself up to a lot of injuries, which is true. But if you think about it, it's as true as those guys who sit in the pocket. Quarterbacks are prone to injuries that aren't mobile, too, because they just stand there and they can get very hurt. Injuries happen in the game, but a running quarterback more of a beating. And, Justin Fields' shoulder is a little messed up now. He's going to play through it. That's the price you pay. And honestly, at the end of the day, the only hope the Bears have of putting together a good game plan. So all they got to do is make sure it turn into anything more serious. If it does, then you shut it down. But let him keep getting reps and let this offense create an identity. Atlanta, they win on that field goal. I mean, Cordell Patterson has a great, return for a touchdown. So there are a lot of things to like with their running game, but Kyle Pitts is now gone, and they just do not have receivers. And that's really going to be the big problem for the Falcons going forward. Both these teams are out of the playoff hunt, but it's just time to really establish that identity, what you can do.
Yeah, definitely with you on that one. I would consider maybe, if Justin Fields is hurt, benching him. You already traded away your key defensive pieces this year, Cease, for the Bears. If he's got some sort of injury, I don't know, just maybe sit him. But that's something to consider for the Bears. They're going to play him through it. I guess he'll maybe get some more reps in and everything, and that's fine. But, I just don't think you're going anywhere. I don't want to risk the franchise quarterback that you've suddenly found this last couple weeks here. All right, the Bills beat the Browns 31-23. Browns started off this game hot. The Bills came back. They ran the ball pretty well. Devin Singletary had 86 yards and a touchdown. The Browns actually passed pretty well in this game. The Bills have had some injuries in the secondary, which I think added to the Browns' ability to do that. This game was in Detroit, which was kind of the big headline here. It's not even that the Bills won 31-23. It's more so that the game was in Detroit because of the snowstorm in Buffalo. Curious to me, Cease, they made the fans from Buffalo go to Detroit, travel to Detroit, which is way more unsafe than if they just went to the stadium in their home state, their home city. So I don't really understand the logic in that. But other than that, we got robbed of a snow game. It was a game that was indoors. The Bills won 31-23. That's pretty much what we expected.
Yeah, I mean, the logic isn't really sound. I think the NFL was assuming nobody would travel for the game. However, clearly they don't seem to understand Buffalo Bills fans and the Bills Mafia. They will go anywhere. I mean, they will – if they got to watch the Bills play in a Denny's parking lot, they will. Like that, it doesn't matter where it is. They'll drive to Saskatchewan or something. And I can't even point out where Saskatchewan is on a map. It's somewhere in Canada, I think in the western part. Somebody can fact check. So actually let me know. Where I could find such knowledge. That'd be great. But ultimately, I mean, it'll start out slow in this one, and they started to take it back, and they got the swagger back by the second half, and were able to really finish things up. But this Bills team is beatable. Everybody's beatable this year. It's the big theme we've talked about. Nobody's a perfect team. They're not playing super great football right now. Part of that could be Josh Allen's a little banged up. Good thing for Buffalo is they used the running game really well in this. Devin Singletary and James Cook both got involved and both did some really good things. So that's a good high point for them. The Browns didn't look half bad either. Their defense was trying to, keep them at bay, and Jacoby Brissett looked like a semblance of a good quarterback for a little bit. It kind of looked like kind of a similar game plan to the game plan they had for the Bengals, where they're gonna Jacoby Brissett is just gonna have to win the game for you. They realize that Nick Chubb is going to get crowded on the line a lot of times, and it's going to be Jacoby Brissett, doing the unexpected and making those big plays to Amari Cooper, who's their only weapon. And I mean, they did that a little bit in this game, and it worked. So, I mean, at the same time, their season's over at this point. I don't want to hear any, they win one game, Sean comes back, they're in the play for the wild card. They're not really, because everyone just assumes that Deshaun Watson is going to just be ready to play football in I think it's 3 weeks from now. That's not really the case. You don't just suddenly don't play a live football game in a year and a half and suddenly become just as good as you were. I mean, there's definitely that learning curve that's going to be huge for them. But ultimately, they had a good showing in this game against a really good team. Bills, they got to kind of find that fire they had early in the season. They got to start heating up again because playoff time's right around the corner, and you got to be playing your best football. So we see so many. You look at last year, just with the Bengals and the Rams. You play your best football, get hot. Anything can happen when you get to playoff time.
Absolutely. We'll keep tabs on that. We'll hope Josh Allen's injury continues to improve for the Bills and see where they go from here. They stayed in Detroit. We're going to pick that game later on. They're staying there for Thanksgiving to play the Lions. That's at least a little convenient for them, so we will see what happens with that. Also on Sunday, we had the Eagles beating the Colts 17-16. It took 14 fourth-quarter points. The Eagles needed a big comeback to win this one. The Colts tried to, milk the clock. They tried running the ball to kill the clock in this game. The Eagles were able to get a late Jalen Hurts touchdown run to win it. I think it's an impressive showing by the Colts under Jeff Saturday. They look more inspired. The Eagles get the win, and Nick Sirianni, their head coach, goes nuts on the sideline, and everyone's like, "What's he doing? He just beat a team that's now 4-6-1. Like, this guy's nuts." Apparently, he said this is for Frank because Frank Reich was someone he had worked with, and now Frank Reich is fired by the Colts. So that's a cool little tidbit there. But it was a closer game than maybe we expected, but the Eagles got the win.
So it's like a Frank Reich disciple revenge game.
Yeah,
got it.
We're always on top of revenge games. We missed that one.
Honestly, I know. Didn't even see it coming. Little we know, the assistant was really the one who cared all along. But yeah, I mean, the Eagles get a win. I mean, you can talk about the Eagles, not beating great talent and all that. Lost the Commanders last week, but it's hard to get wins. It's hard to get wins on the road. The Colts defense is still very good. That's something that you don't need. A head coach isn't going to really. They didn't lose a defensive coordinator. They didn't change anything there. What they really changed up was the whole ball. So the defense is as advertised. The offense is just kind of getting back to basics. That's what they're doing right now. And sometimes that works. They've got good players. They've got a really good offensive line. They have Quentin Nelson, who's probably going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. Matt Ryan isn't anything special at this point in his career, but he knows the game of football, and he knows the situations, though has that awareness. Jonathan Taylor is one of the best running backs in football. So I mean, there are a lot of pieces to this team. You got Michael Pittman, you got Alex, who's played well as a rookie. You got Paris Campbell, who's playing pretty good with Matt Ryan taking snaps. I mean, there's a semblance of a really good football team. There's a
All right, we lost Cecil real quick, so I will fill in for the time being. We just had the Eagles beating the Colts 17-16. Eagles looking pretty good at 9-1. Colts, we'll see if they can fight for a playoff spot there. The Jets and the Patriots played on Sunday as well. Patriots went 10-3. They were tied 3-3 at the end of the first half. No one was really scoring, so Marcus Jones, the Patriots punt returner, decided to take one back to the house. It was very, very weird that they were able to do that. We were someone who mentioned in the draft show that we do that he is a return specialist. It was great that they picked him. He's more of a slot corner, but he got the job done here for the Patriots. The only offense they had. The Patriots and Jets both have very bad offenses. I do not expect them to do much in the playoffs because of this. Mac Jones had an efficient day, but you got to put points up on the boards. The Jets defense was just not really great. It was, the Jets offense was just not really great. Zach Wilson now has created a controversy, and at that rate, they might start Joe Flacco this week, which is something that I don't think we want to see. But it might be better than Zach Wilson. So the Patriots beat the Jets 10-3. Moving on from that, we have the Saints and the Rams Saints beating the Rams 27-20. The Rams started off pretty hot. They were leading 14-10 at the half. They've had Matt Stafford had to leave the game, and they don't have Cooper Kupp in this one. Andy Dalton for the Saints played pretty well. He passed for 260 yards, 3 touchdowns on 21 of 25 passing. Really, really efficient game for him. Both these teams don't really feel like they're going to do much from here on out. Just kind of a tough record, and we'll see what they can do. Next one up, we had the Lions and Giants. The Lions were able to pull off the upset here. They beat the Giants 31-18. Their offense gets going, and honestly, the Giants didn't score until the fourth quarter. They had 6 points until the fourth quarter. Maybe a little bit of getting ahead of themselves. I mean, they were 7-2 before this game. I don't think that the record really matched who they said they were. The Lions, on the other hand, 3 straight wins. First time in a couple of years they were able to do that. So that is pretty cool as well. Cecil, can you hear me? All right, we'll keep on going on without Cecil for now. We have the Ravens beating the Panthers. Ravens beat the Panthers 13-3. This was a bad performance by both teams, really. The Ravens were able to put some fourth quarter points on the board, but Lamar Jackson disappointed. The running game disappointed. Demarcus Robinson's only the really one who had a very good game. He had 9 catches for 128 yards. Ravens defense deserves credit, but this is a game you got to win by more than what was really just 10 garbage time points. All right, we'll move on to the Commanders beating the Texans. Commanders beat the Texans 23-10. This is a game where we mentioned in our preview show that this line was kind of messed up. It's just Commanders were favored by like 3 points on the road. It made no sense because Commanders are playing really good football. The Texans are not. They just don't have the talent on the roster. So they are 23-10. So far, since Taylor Heineke took over, even before Taylor Heineke took over, this team has been hot. They're winning 6 of the last 7 games. Their only losses to the Vikings, which was by 3 points. They've really found their footing after a rough start to the season. That's pretty good news, and they could fight for a playoff spot. They got the Falcons this week. They got the 2 back-to-back games against the Giants. We'll see if they're for real. They could be right there in the playoffs with a lot of the other teams in the NFC Beast. Moving on, we have the Raiders beating the Broncos. The Raiders win 22-16 in overtime. This is an interesting game. The Broncos offense really hasn't gotten going all year. The Raiders haven't had the season they really would have predicted. Josh McDaniels has had a pretty bad coaching career up to this point. So the game's tied at the end of regulation. In overtime, Derek Carr is able to hit Devontae Adams deep, wide open for a touchdown. They kind of dragged the safety away, and he was just kind of left open. He had 2 touchdowns on the day, 141 yards receiving. Derek Carr also had a decent game, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns. Both these teams, again, not making the playoffs, so it'll be interesting to see what they can do in the next couple of weeks here, what draft picks they might do in the next couple of years. We will see about that. All right, the Chiefs beat the Chargers on Sunday Night Football. This is a weird game. Chargers start off pretty hot, and then they falter in the end. Justin Herbert leads them on a touchdown drive to take the lead, 27-23, with a little bit of time left, and then Patrick Mahomes does what Patrick Mahomes does and goes down the field and scores with 31 seconds left to win 30-27. This is very, very weird because there's a lot of people online who are saying that Justin Herbert can't be that guy who doesn't perform late in games. He's got to he failed on his last drive, which was a pick after the 31 seconds on the clock. But he scored the touchdown to put them ahead in the first place. If you score with under 2 minutes left and the Chiefs go score, that's not on your quarterback. He did his job. You can't really ask for NFL teams to score 35 points every time. He got him started off on the right path. He probably could have scored more points in the second half, but at the end of the day, that is a pretty good result for the pretty good fight for the Chargers. They seem to play the Chiefs pretty tough and have trouble playing other teams pretty well, but at the same time, it's a good fight from them. We'll see what they can do down the stretch here as they're 5-5 looking to make a playoff push, and the Chiefs look like one of the best teams in the league. All right, next one up, we have Monday Night Football. The 49ers beat the Cardinals 38-10. This was domination. I mean, the Cardinals, this started off as a game that was just very close in the first quarter. The 49ers came out swinging after that. Kittle had 2 touchdowns. Garoppolo looked pretty good, 228 yards, 4 touchdowns for him. One of his best games. This game was in Mexico City, and it just looks like the Cardinals have a lot of problems right now. We have when Kyler Murray is hurt, but when Kyler Murray is playing, it seems like he has the body language issues. It seems like Cliff Kingsbury is a lame duck coach. He's going to be fired at some point, and I'm not really sure exactly what the plan is for the future here. We'll see if Kyler Murray gets back and they can win a couple games, but at the end of the day, probably not making the playoffs if you're the Cardinals or 49ers. Cardinals at this point. 49ers looking like one of the best teams in the NFC West, and to be honest, this is a team that I'm not too high on. I know Cecil is when we get Cecil back, but they're 6-4, Seattle 6-4, and this vaunted NFC West is just not what we thought it was going to be. Arizona goes 4-7. The LA Rams go 3-7 this year so far, and Seattle comes out of nowhere to be 6-4. San Francisco is probably winning the division. How far they go in the playoffs largely depends on how many plays Jimmy Garoppolo can make. He's not the guy who made all the throws in the playoffs the last time they went to the Super Bowl. He missed a couple throws that maybe cost him a Super Bowl. We'll see if he's improved on that. He's had plenty of time to work on his skills since that point, and we'll see what he can do. All right, we'll move on to our Week 12 picks. We'll hope to get Cecil back at some point here, but he's having some technical difficulties right now. We'll start it off on Thanksgiving. We have the Buffalo Bills at the Detroit Lions. As mentioned earlier, the Bills stayed there because it is in Detroit for the second straight week. The Bills are favored by 9.5 on the road, and should be a fun start to the Thanksgiving kickoff. I have the Bills winning and covering. I think the Lions having 3 wins in a row, one of the hottest teams in the NFL. That's all fun. But at the same time, I think the Bills are starting to get Josh Allen healthier. They're running the ball well. Give me the Bills. I think they go win this game, go into the mini-bye, get some time to rest, and they're going to be good for the home stretch. Every team has their struggles during an NFL season. They had their struggles, and now they can go rest and get better and get to the next level, which is what they want to do and win a Super Bowl. All right, the New York Giants at the Dallas Cowboys. The Giants lost their momentum for the start of the season. They started off hot, and now it seems like maybe they're faltering a little bit. We'll see what happens with that. Dallas had a pretty good win against the Vikings, thoroughly beat them on the road, and that defense is for real. They really shut them down. That offense is going to be for real, and they're getting closer and closer to getting Tyron Smith back, and that could be really, really interesting when they get him back. They could have an offense that scored the most points in the league last year with a defense that is playing at an elite level right now. So I have the Cowboys winning and covering the 9 points. I have the Giants. I have the Giants with the points at 9 points, but I have the Cowboys winning with 9 points here. The game will be, I think, just maybe not this is kind of large spreads for Thanksgiving, so I don't know how big of how much fun these will be to watch. Bills game to get the offense going will be fun, but the divisional matchup should keep it close at the very least. We'll see. We'll see if the Giants can kind of refine what's going on here. We have the New England Patriots at the Minnesota Vikings. The Patriots really struggling to score points right now. The quarterback controversy is something that's going to really hurt them moving forward, I think Mac Jones is doing okay, but they're not scoring points. They don't have the weapons for him to score points. Bailey Zappi goes in there. He does okay. Mac Jones is the starter. We'll see what he can do. I really hope that they can help either guy out. Like, getting some weapons here soon. The Minnesota Vikings lost to the Cowboys, and I mean that was. I mean, we kind of talked about it last week. It was kind of a weird game where we didn't really know. Oh, Cecil, can you hear me?
I'm around. I'm back. I'm alive.
All right. Well, I finished the recap for us here, so I'm from the week. We kind of went fast. We don't want to have to lead all this footage on Thanksgiving week, so we're on the picks. I have just started the picks, so that's perfect timing, buddy.
Well, that works. I mean, I didn't even realize you weren't there for a while. I mean, I went on an entire rant about Jeff Saturday's life story with the Colts. And nobody, and then I looked up and nobody even heard me. And
Oh boy, if
I
you
guess that's a tidbit the public will never hear, and that's okay. Our good friends at Spectrum Internet don't seem to understand how to provide the internet to the world. So shout out to them. Please don't slow down my internet because of this. But okay,
well,
let's get to the picks. Who
well,
are we going with first?
well, I'm glad you're back. Your internet is much better, buddy. You're coming in clear. It's great.
I know.
Do you want to talk about your Jeff Saturday story, or you got kind of done with
You
it?
know, at this point, I think it's too little, too late. You know, it's one of those moments like you got to be there at the time. You can't recreate it.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I recapped the rest of the week. Anything before we go on, anything from the other games that you wanted to talk about real quick before we move on? It is. I mean, we had some good games in the later window. We obviously had the. You know what? I think I forgot to recap the Bengals, Steelers, and the Cowboys and Vikings. Let's do that right now. Let's just do it. It's a whole mashup episode.
Let's roll through it.
Let's just do it. What do you think? All right, we had the Cowboys. We'll start with the Cowboys. The Cowboys were favorites on the road. That kind of perplexed us, but you took the Cowboys, Cease, and the Cowboys dominated them. The defense was great. The offense is getting going. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this a lot yesterday, or 2 days ago on Sunday. I mean, Dallas just dominated them in every facet of the game. I mean, at this point, you know, I didn't like using this label, but you know, you made me basically answer everything else about it, and the answer was the Vikings are officially pretenders.
Mm.
It's where they are in my eyes. You said, do you think that they're going to win, get out of the first round? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, yes or no answer. I said, no, I don't think they are. So they are pretenders. They are frauds, as some would say. So, you know, you can keep your read receipts, Vikings fans. You can all tweet at me and tell me how wrong I was. That's totally fine. And this isn't just a reaction to one game, right? This is a multitude of things we've seen happen. They beat the Bills last week, right? And everyone then anointed them the best team in the NFC. However, they lost to the Eagles pretty handedly. They've now gotten crushed by the Cowboys, you know, in their home stadium. And, you know, they beat the Bills based off of some untimely turnovers and Justin Jefferson making catches that can't really be repeated or duplicated. So that's not a winning formula. Again, Kirk Cousins, big games, starts to choke. And that's just exactly what happened in this one again. I mean, they could get nothing going on offense at all. The Vikings defense is already not very good, and they could not stop Tony Pollard to save their lives. So, yeah, I mean, the Vikings, they looked like complete frauds. They're going to win the NFC North basically by default at this point. They have such a lead, and they've already beaten everyone at least once. You know, they go up against some of the other big contenders in the NFC that, you know, we've talked about and go up against. A lot of teams are surging right now. And the Vikings, after that Cowboys loss, you know, that's the kind of teams they're going to be playing in the NFC. I don't know if they're really in it. You know, are they really we're really gonna say these guys are gonna make it into an NFC Championship game? I don't think so.
All right. Well, I'm a little bit higher on the Vikings than you, but at the same time, when it comes to playoff times, I'm kind of like you. I know I put you in that exercise, and you had to answer, but I think it does depend on the matchup. They might be able to win a game. It just depends who they're playing. Like, I don't know if they played the NFC South champ, then or like a wild card team, and the last wild card team in the NFC South champ in the first 2 rounds. Maybe they do win. Like maybe they do win 2 straight games. I don't know. But I would say that there are about 3 to 4 teams I'd take over them in the NFC, and at that rate, what are we talking about here? So, with you on that, very impressed by the Cowboys, and I think once they get Tyron Smith back this upcoming weeks here, they move Tyler Smith into guard. This team could be really good. I mean, they scored the most points in the NFL last year, and now their defense is playing at an elite level. They could have 2 really good units going into the playoffs. I think that's very important. All right, Bengals Steelers. Bengals win 37-30. It was dicey at times. They went into the locker room at halftime with a losing score. Joe Burrow was on fire, second half especially. 355 yards, 4 touchdowns. T. Higgins 9 catches for 148 yards, and they end up winning 37-30. It was a little bit closer because the garbage time touchdown. They tried an onside kick and everything at the end, but it really didn't work out for them. I will say I'm very happy with the offensive performance, defensive performance. They let Kenny Pickett look pretty good, and I don't like that for a quarterback who's throwing 3 touchdowns and 8 interceptions on the year. They started to dial the pressure up, and Kenny got a little bit worse, but would have liked to see them play better from the start. But at the end of the day, you can't complain. They beat a rival, as you said at the beginning of the show, Cease. Beat a rival, covered the spread. Offense played pretty well despite not having Jamar Chase. A lot of good things going for the Bengals.
Right. I really liked, again, the defense, that was a little troubling in the first half. They put it together. And I'm so glad you didn't go over this game somehow. So, yeah, I mean, that second half, you go in, you get Joe Burrow in these situations, and his ability to continue to perform despite so many things being wrong. Offensive line's still not perfect. You're going up against one of the best pass rushers, one of the better, defenses in the NFL. You lose your running back. Jamar Chase isn't gonna play. You know that going in. So, but you make it happen with everybody. You make it happen with T. Higgins has almost 150 yards on 9 catches. They keep getting the ball to him no matter what. He's throwing. He's making great throws. T. Higgins is executing on great catches. You get a touchdown pass to Trent Irwin of all people. Now, whoever had Trent Irwin on their daily fantasy draft bingo card, congratulations. You somehow probably won some money at the very desperate part of your league and lineup. So good for you. And I mean, this is a kind of I'm not going to call it a signature win, but this is a great win and a very positive sign for this team. Because it shows that through adversity, through not ideal conditions for the offense, they can still score a lot of points. It wasn't like the Panthers game where Joe Mixon just blew it out of the water and that's all they needed to do. It wasn't like the Falcons game where they were basically just raining the ball down upon them and we had, full offensive firepower. This is a game where there was adversity. It was on the road. They didn't have the lead at halftime. They came out firing and they found a way to win and win pretty handedly, honestly, by the end. Joe Burrow made some stellar plays. Honestly, the offensive line held up decently throughout most of the game. They weren't perfect, but they contained pretty well. And despite the 2 interceptions, Joe Burrow hasn't had a turnover-worthy throw, according to PFF, I believe, in 5 games now. So he is doing very well. The sky's the limit. We've known that for years. We know who Joe Burrow is over the last 2 years at this point. There's no real doubting him. But seeing the offense be able to transition to this, we've seen them kind of evolve as the season's gone on. We've seen some dominant performances against some not good teams. And, the Steelers aren't a great team by any means. They're not even really good. But to see them come out in the second half despite, being down 2 of their weapons and dominate like they did on offense, that's special, especially against a team like the Steelers, who there's so much history and bad blood between. So good for them. TJ Watt made a killer interception. That was awesome. Not awesome for me or any Bengals fan, but, it was a really cool play. He's a very, very talented player. And I mean, really for the Bengals, it says secondary needs to figure it out on defense. They got to communicate better because a lot of that stuff, the 1 touchdown, late in the second quarter, that was all miscommunication. They bunched up the receivers and, Jesse Bates, Taylor, and Eli Apple couldn't figure out who they were covering. And from there, it was off of the races because they just, they're going to do these kind of rub plays. They're going to do things where, they see this. Teams are going to see these, these safeties and these cornerbacks haven't played together a lot, so there's a lot of miscommunication that can happen. So you do a couple rough plays, you do some misdirection, you do some bunches where you can't knock everyone off the line. Somebody's going to slip past you. So I'm sure that's going to be addressed. It's probably the first thing since it considers defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo was like the first thing he talked about in the post game. So it'll probably be addressed early on. I think this unit will get better because you have Eli Apple, you have Cameron Taylor Britt, who is a rookie who a lot of people didn't think was ready, missed a lot of training camp with a core muscle injury, was on IR to start the season. So there are still plenty of opportunities for this defense and the secondary to get better. They got DJ Reader back this week. Jermaine Pratt had a really good game, even though it looked like on some of those plays he was getting blown up by Najee Harris. But that's just how much of his weight difference is. But I mean, just a really good, solid game all around on the road. They're doing what they need to win games, and they're trending in the right direction for a tough showdown in Nashville this week. We'll get to.
Absolutely. Happy the Bengals won. That is our recap for the week. We'll get to our picks for the week. Any of you who have listened through the awkwardness of me recapping the games and trying to figure out Cecil's difficulties, I'll leave that in for you. But we don't have enough time. It's Thanksgiving week. We're already recording. It's 11 p.m. at night. Yeah, that's my Thanksgiving present to you guys. I'm
You
thankful.
were struggling through. You just like Joe Burrow. You went through some adversity and you came out on the other side better because of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. The game plan was thrown out the window at that point. We got through it. My Thanksgiving gift to all the listeners out there. Very thankful for all of you. So you get to keep that and my awkward talk about my first couple picks before Cecil got back. Starting off, Cecil, Bills, Lions in Detroit. As mentioned, the Bills just played there as the home team. Bills favored by 9.5, and this will be an interesting way to kick off Thanksgiving. The Bills are favored by 9.5, but could be some fun. The Lions are pretty hot right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Bills to win and cover. If it was 10 points, I'd honestly consider the Lions. That half point is really making the difference for me because, I mean, like you said, the Lions have been playing better lately. I mean, this is a huge test. This is a big ask, and the Lions always seem to get trounced on Thanksgiving days. That's kind of their Detroit tradition, which is kind of depressing if you're a Lions fan. But you know what you're in for at this point. I expect Jared Goff and the offense to continue to try to do a lot of things, and I mean the Bills defense has shown some holes, and is Josh Allen get off to a slow start in this one? If he does, maybe it's a game for a while. But if they come out of the gate, score a touchdown, 2 touchdowns, it's gonna be a very different looking game. But I got to go with the Bills to win and cover.
I do too. I'm going Bills. I think Josh Allen is getting healthier as time goes on. I think the defense is getting healthier as time goes on. Hopefully they get Trey White back this week or at least in the coming weeks. Either way, I like them long term. I think they had their little hiccup in terms of playing not so well. I think Josh Allen playing in this game on Thanksgiving early, he can start resting his arm on this mini bye they're going to get. I think that's huge. I really do. I think he's going to come back way stronger. That injury won't be bothering him as much. I have Bills winning and covering, like what the Lions are doing, but at some point, they just don't have that defense to really keep this up. So I'm going to go Bills. Giants at Cowboys, Cease. This is a game of 7-3 teams. Dallas is favored by 9.5 points. I think that line is a little bit odd considering the Giants are 7-3. And, I mean, the Cowboys have had good games. They've had bad games. They're on a short week, too. So the line strikes me as odd. But it is Giants at Cowboys. Anything can happen.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Dallas to win, but Giants with the points here. I think it's disrespectful to do a 9-point spread for a team that's 7-3 against another 7-3 team. Now I know the Giants not as talented as the Cowboys. You can look on any piece of paper, any depth chart, on any website. You can say this Cowboys team is better than them. That's why we're picking them to win, especially the Cowboys are home. But like you said, it's kind of a shorter week for them. So that always plays into things. You never know how that's going to affect teams. They really didn't rest. The Cowboys didn't really rest their starters either. They played most of the game until the very end. It was a later Sunday night game as well. The 4 o'clock slot. You can analyze that as much as you want. But ultimately, they should win this game. They have the offensive firepower. They've got Dak in this game. They're already able to beat the Giants without him. So it'll be a better result than last time. Um, but ultimately, if you're the New York Giants, these games are always close. It's a NFC East matchup. They're gonna be close. It's gonna come down the wire probably. So to bet a 9 point spread in one of these games is just kind of a foolish thing to do. So I'd put a decent amount of money on the Giants to cover the spread. Honestly, I think that's one. Honestly, that might be one of my locks of the week. Honestly, um, again, Cowboys should win this game. I'm very pretty sure of that as well. But 9 points to the Giants is just too big a margin for error.
Yeah, you heard Cecil. You go take your paycheck. You go put that all the way down on Giants plus 9.5, and make sure to gamble responsibly because that's kind of serious. But yeah, that's what you should do. The Cowboys are going to win. The Giants keep it close. Divisional game. Honestly, these two teams in history usually kind of trade matchups and play each other close traditionally, no matter what the records are. This time, I mean, they're good. I mean, the Giants are somewhat good. I do think they're going to falter down the stretch, but I don't think they're like over yet. Like I think they can still push for a playoff spot. I don't think they're going to beat the Cowboys. I think they'll play them close. We'll see. I just think the Cowboys, as the season goes on, going to get better and better as Dak gets more comfortable with his thumb, with Tyron Smith coming back. Tony Pollard's running well. Zeke's running better. I think they're really got all the pieces you need. They really just need a wide receiver too to step up, and they might be solving that issue with OBJ comes in.
Are you saying the Giants are potential frauds?
Oh, I'm absolutely saying it. Yeah.
All right,
I
cool.
if I think if you're picking an NFC playoff team to play in the first round, I would say you're picking the Giants.
I mean, keep those read receipts. I don't keep read receipts, I just don't like people being able to know when I read their stuff. So, but yeah, good one to note.
Okay, would you rather play the Giants or the Commanders right now? Because I'd rather play the Giants.
I'd still play the Commanders. I don't trust Taylor Heineke. I trust Brian Dable and what he's doing as a coach better.
I like Brian Dable too, but he's already out. He's exceeded my expectations with 7 wins. The Commanders, they've won 6 or 7 games. Cease. I don't know. I'm thinking I wouldn't want to play him. Taylor Heineke's got that magic, man. They're playing the Falcons this week. We're gonna pick that game coming up, and they got 2 games against the Giants back to back. That's some.
Ooh.
I don't know, man. They
Back to back.
yeah. Well, they have a bye in between, but still,
I was
that's
gonna say, I'm
stupid.
like, I thought they had a bye. I'm like, back to back. That's just the NFL scheduling strikes again.
That still shouldn't happen. Where you play the same team twice. All your preparation for the first game. You just okay. We'll watch the tape of what happened in that game. We'll just keep the same game plan. It's kind of stupid.
Yeah.
But yes, I do think the Giants potential frauds here. I like some of the pieces on the team, but they're faltering. They're faltering. All right, Thursday Night Football on Thanksgiving. We have the Patriots at the Vikings. Reminder, this one will be on NBC and not Amazon Prime because NBC has the rights to the Thanksgiving night game. The Vikings are favored by 2.5 at home. Cecil, it is a Kirk Cousins primetime game. So what are we thinking?
It is, but it's also the anemic New England Patriots game, not in Foxborough.
Yeah.
I'm. What's this? What's the line on this game?
The Vikings are favored by 2.5 currently.
Dang, no confidence in the home team in
Mm-hmm.
this one. Give me the Vikings to win and cover. It's Kirk Cousins in prime time, so it's not going to be pretty. But their home team, they should get at least 3 points of their record. Patriots can be really good on defense, but their offense is just not good. It's just not anything to write home about. If Kirk Cousins gets confused like Zach Wilson has the last 2 Patriots outings, the Vikings are clearly going to be in trouble. But I think they are going to bounce back after this game. They had in Dallas. I don't think they're going to take that 2 times. I don't think they can have devastating losses like that back to back. So ultimately, I got to go with Kirk Cousins to win this one. It'll still be close, but they still have Justin Jefferson. They still have Dalvin Cook. They have weapons on this team, and Bill Belichick can't take away everything. So that's going to be the key to their success. Is they just have a lot more firepower than the Patriots can keep up with.
Yeah, I'm going Vikings. I think they win and cover. Um, the last week aside, I do think they've played really good football. I don't think they're a team that's going to taper off too much. Yes, they're not going to be, just having two losses by the end of the year, but they got talent, as you said. I mean, Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. They're going to get T.J. Hawkinson at the deadline. They can spread the ball around on offense. Defense, not the greatest unit, but they've shown some life. Patrick Peterson with some interceptions, showing some young legs out there. That's good enough for them right now. The Patriots, I mentioned this when you took your little hiatus with the Jets game. That was awful game. The offense, like that was dog shit off. You can say good defense all you want. That was dog shit offense, and I think it's stupid. So I'm not picking the Patriots for a while. Bill Belichick's awesome. I think maybe the drafting he's had has not been the greatest, and they're set up in a situation where I don't think they have the offense to beat anyone good. So they play the next couple weeks. They play the Vikings, the Bills, the Cardinals, the Raiders, the Bengals, the Dolphins, and the Bills again. Making the playoffs is going to be tough. I just really hated that game that Sunday season. It was probably one of my least favorite games of the NFL season. It wasn't good.
Yeah,
It was just bad. Mac Jones was completing passes for like 2 yards. He had an efficient game, but I hated it.
yeah, it was a dull game. It was a boring game. But what I said rang true. I said Zach Wilson will not be able to do anything in this game, and I was right.
You were right, and now they're probably making a change to a different quarterback, but we'll talk about that now because that's the next game on the list. We got the Chicago Bears at the New York Jets. Jets favored by 3 at home. The Bears obviously playing Justin Fields through the shoulder injury, and the Jets with Zach Wilson saying he may not be the starter anymore. So we might have Joe Flacco, we might have Mike White. We don't know. What are you going with, Cease? Favored by 3, even with the quarterback issues.
This is a weird one. I would probably stay away from this game, especially until we know what's going on with the quarterback situation. Um, I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna pick the Jets still. I think there's a lot of pieces of this team that are still very good, very talented, and the injury to Justin Fields I think will be detrimental to their running attack because that's what they need to do with Justin. Justin Fields needs to run the ball in order for that offense to be successful. I think the Jets can limit that. They have some really good pieces on defense, and I think they can make enough plays to contain him a great deal. From there, Michael Carter and James Robinson will fill in at running back well enough for whoever's the starting quarterback. Honestly, Dak Wilson hasn't played super well, so Mike White has played well in relief. Joe Flacco has played well in relief. They're all kind of interchangeable at this point. So I got to go the Jets to win and cover.
I'm going Bears. If they're going to play Justin Fields through the injury, I'm going to hope that they keep on doing the same things they have been doing, which is running him. If it's just like a discomfort thing, I don't know. It originally was reported a dislocated shoulder. I don't think he'd be playing with the dislocated shoulder. I think it's probably separated or something. That's just, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know. But, shoot him up with Novocaine, let him run around, and I think you can win. Run the ball pretty well. Should be a low-scoring game unless Zach Wilson decides to finally figure it out. And this is a defense I guess he could. The Bears traded away all their stars, so maybe he could. But I'll go Bears with the upset. Not really confident in either team. I'm with you. Stay away from this one if you are one of the gambling folk out there.
We are not doctors, but we are learned scholars.
You're learned scholars. All right, Texans at Dolphins. Dolphins favored by 13. Pretty big spread.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the key to beat the Texans is just run the ball and go home. That's just kind of become the formula is, don't try anything dumb. Don't just take the air out of the ball. Don't leave some crazy thing to happen, even though the Texans can't really play pass defense anyway. Just shorten the game, score a couple touchdowns, let your offensive linemen just push people around. Just enforce your will on the Texans and get on the bus, 30 minutes earlier. If you can really eat that clock, that's really all this game is can we get out of here without injuries or without doing something stupid? Don't give the Texans a shot to really be in it. Go up early and then just eat the clock, and I have every confidence that'll be done. So, yeah, I just, the Texans are going to lose this one. They're going to lose it big.
I think so, too. Dolphins to win and cover. Dolphins coming off of a bye. Expect to see some, fun wrinkles thrown in there by Mike McDaniel off the bye just to, keep the game a little bit entertaining, whether it's, maybe a flea flicker or something like that, trick play, whatever it is. They're much more talented. The Texans can't cover Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And for any fantasy people out there, Dameon Pierce has been shut down in recent weeks. I think teams are starting to figure out that they really don't have many weapons on this team. And if you shut down the run with Dameon Pierce, it's probably going to go well for you. So he's someone that maybe, I know most trade deadlines are over, but maybe you sell, maybe you think about benching for a different player. He's going to get volume, and I still think he's a good running back, but the Texans don't really support him that well. So just a little tidbit on that, but Dolphins win and cover for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and you always don't forget Brandon Cooks, man. Don't forget the
Oh,
life and times and struggles of Brandon Cooks.
the guy who had his captainship torn away from him because he had requested a trade for the last 2 years, and the Texans will not trade the man.
Doesn't he keep re-signing with them?
Yeah, I didn't he request a trade last year and then sign an extension with them at
I
the
don't
same time?
understand what is this guy like? What are they selling him in the offseason? We're gonna be way better, man. I promise. Davis Mills will still be the quarterback. We'll still have the exact same personnel. But we got Lovie Smith as coach now. That's
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
And this suitcase of money. Don't forget the money.
Yeah, I don't know what they're selling him. They got something in the water down there in Houston. I don't know, but he's getting into the point where maybe he just like goes throughout the half season. He's like, all right, we're not competing, just trade me every single time, and then next year he's like, all right, we can do this, and you can't. The Texans have a lot of picks. They should have traded Brandon Cooks for more picks, even if it wasn't as high as they would have wanted. But I don't know. But
He's gonna turn into Mel Clark and Angels in the outfield at this point.
You mean he's gonna die?
No, he's just gonna be forgotten about.
Oh, okay.
And then the Texans will become good again in like 10 years by divine intervention, aka the just litany of draft picks they should have. And he'll catch a big touchdown in the play-in game to the playoffs or something, or their first playoff win or something.
Okay.
You heard it here first.
He doesn't need any Angels out there. We'll see.
He doesn't. You're absolutely right.
We'll see. All right. We'll move on to the next game on that note. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Cleveland Browns. Buccaneers favored by 3.5.
Yeah, Tony Danza was really good in that movie, by the way.
Yes.
I just want to throw that out there as well. And a young Joseph Gordon-Levitt. If you haven't watched Angels in the Outfield in a while, take a look. Matthew McConaughey is also in it for a little bit of time. That's right. There's a lot going on in that movie.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm going to go with the Buccaneers here. I don't think they're great right now, but ultimately they're coming off a bye week, get a little healthier. Maybe reset a little bit to get ready for kind of the do or die of what it is the rest of their season needs to be. Because they're not, it's close as of right now with the Falcons, but it's really not that close. Mm-hmm. Just kind of looks that way via records. So I got to go with Tampa Tom, be able to win by 3.
Yeah, Buccaneers coming off a bye. That means a lot to Tom Brady. He's 2-0 since the divorce. All things are pointing towards a little bit of a run here for the Buccaneers. As you said, they're getting a little bit healthier, too, with Vita Vea in the middle of that defense. He can really help them stop the run for the Browns, make Jacoby Brissett beat you. He did look good, like we talked about. He looked good last week. But I'm kind of wondering how many times he can pull off those performances, how many times Amari Cooper can be like the only receiver that you're targeting. I'm going to go Tampa Bay on the road to win and cover. All right, Denver Broncos at the Carolina Panthers. Broncos favored by 2.5. Interesting kind of facts before we get into the breakdown of the game. Melvin Gordon cut by the Broncos. Fumbling issues are a big thing for him, but they also have some injuries at running back, so it doesn't really make any sense that they cut him. And the Panthers have turned it over to Sam Darnold. Most think this is because the compensation package for Baker Mayfield goes down if you don't play him, because that's how the trade worked out. So if they end up benching him now, they're going to go Sam Darnold, so they don't have to give up higher picks to the Browns in that trade.
Yeah, if I could just skip a matchup to talk about, it'd probably be this.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I don't trust Sam Darnold at all. That man has not played very good football for any time in a Panthers uniform. So I can't believe I'm saying this, but let's ride. Let's go Broncos winning cover.
Oh, that sounds so gross.
Yeah, let's ride.
I'm going Sammy Football.
Wow.
Sammy Football wasn't the greatest, but we got Steve Wilkes, who's doing a heck of a job and does definitely deserve more than one season with the Cardinals. Cardinals, this is karma. What, your season going this way? That's karma for what you did to Steve Wilkes. This dude's coaching some good football. He's putting Sammy football in. He's doing the right thing for the future. And you know what? Baker Mayfield's not throwing the ball to their best player, DJ Moore. You know who's going to throw it to DJ Moore? Sammy fucking football. He's going to do it. They're going to have some more success on offense. He's also going to throw the other team a little bit too because he still sees ghosts. But he's going to throw it to DJ Moore. It's going to be fun to watch. Panthers in the upset in this one.
I mean, that's the big thing, though, about being the unfrozen caveman quarterback, man. If he throws an interception, he can just go, what do I know? I'm just a caveman.
You know what? You say that. I think being dumb is a good quarterback thing, right? Like if
like having a short-term memory or just actually being mentally slow.
Maybe both. You know, like, hey, short-term memory a little bit too, but yeah, let's keep on throwing. It'll eventually work.
Like, as long as you know the mechanics, like, I guess, like, Waterboy, man, he was really good at football, and he was not the brightest.
Yeah, look at Brett Favre. He didn't know what a dime or nickel package was when he was playing quarterback. He had to ask the backup what that was, and he's still throwing it. He just threw the ball around and threw a lot of touchdowns, a lot of interceptions, and now he's getting caught with some shady things on Twitter for Twitter DMs that are leaked. You know, he's not the most intelligent guy.
He's not. He's just a folksy man. He's just a folksy man from Mississippi who loves Wrangler jeans.
That's you know. So maybe we'll look into that. Maybe being dumb is good. Well, that's the study we're gonna do this offseason. We're gonna see how that works out.
Dumb and folksy though. You can't just be dumb. Like, you can't be dumb and like from the city. You got to be from some kind of more rural place.
Well, California kid. Sam Darnold's California, but that counts. He's whatever.
Yeah, it's not very folksy.
Well, that's all right. He's a surfer guy, you know.
Like Sacramento's kind of folksy, you know, north.
Sacramento. We're talking about Sacramento on an NFL show. Okay, we're gonna move on because I don't want to go too much more into that. But anyway, Sammy football's back. My pick's the Panthers in the upset. You picked the Broncos. We'll move on. Baltimore Ravens favored by 4 on the road against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars coming off a bye.
I'm going to pick the Ravens to win, but I'm going to take the Jaguars with the points because the Ravens are playing very uninspired football right now. If that Panthers game is anywhere near what they're going to play at, it looks like they're just decided they're going to make the playoffs regardless and probably win the division regardless of what happens with any other team in the AFC North. So they've just decided to coast, it looks like. Lamar, I mean, yeah, I know you kind of recapped this while I was gone, but what a horrible game this Sunday. I think at least the Jets-Patriots game, you know, there's that big kick return at the end. That's like an exciting cap to a horrible game. But, man, the Panthers-Ravens game was 1,000 times more frustrating because, you know, the Jets and Patriots, both of them are kind of in that weird, are they for real, are they not? Like, are they actually good, are they bad? Ravens are good. As we've talked about in this podcast, how good are they? We've debated. But we know for a fact the Panthers are bad. So how can a very good to elite team basically play down at home to one of the worst teams in the NFL and score almost no points for 3 quarters? Very questionable. Mm-hmm. Jaguars are better than the Panthers, so that doesn't mean anything in this week-to-week league, but I just have a feeling they're coming off a bye. They're a young team that wants to make some statements to finish out this year. And I just feel like the Ravens are just kind of coasting through, and they're going to get taken surprised by some teams that are actually going to try to knock them out.
Gotcha. I mean, they probably at some point they will be, but I'm going Ravens to win and cover. I'm still very high on them. Yes, this was a bad performance against the Panthers, and maybe they come down to earth. Maybe there's some pride involved now. They kind of go back out and start playing better. A win's a win in the NFL, but you go into that film room the next day, and your coach is gonna be lighting you up for that performance because they did not play well whatsoever. I think they're gonna get a little bit healthier. Gus Edwards might get back. Yes, Ronnie Stanley went out, and that's definitely tough. But Gus Edwards might be back in this game. That could be huge. He's been their best running back this year, other than J.K. Dobbins, who may or may not play ever again, which probably frustrates a lot of people. But I'm gonna go with them. Ravens also. I think they're going to want to lock up that first-round bye possibly in the AFC, and I say that, Cease, because look at this schedule. They play the Jaguars, the Broncos, the Steelers, the Browns, the Falcons, the Steelers, and then the Bengals. So there's very possible they could be the number 1 seed in the AFC just with that schedule. So I think they're going to be focused. That'd be huge for the Ravens, who've had their struggles in the playoffs. So I think that'll be a focus of theirs this upcoming year, this year.
I like to think of the Ravens as Apollo Creed and Rocky One.
Okay.
Very good, very flashy. A lot of talk. They're going into this matchup, just like Apollo goes in against Rocky. It's just like an exhibition to him, even though it's for, heavyweight champion of the world. He's not really taking it seriously. He's showboating around the arena. And, Rocky's coming in to fight. And, by halfway through, Apollo finally decides he needs to start boxing. And that's where things get really interesting. So, and who knows what's gonna happen? Maybe it's gonna be a split decision. The Bengals are gonna be there at the end of the season. I think it's a split decision. The Ravens win the division, but that doesn't mean they get the last laugh. There's always Rocky too.
That's true. We'll see. We'll see. And I know we're going to talk about it in the playoffs too, because I think this is going to be an interesting playoffs for teams that maybe have narratives around them, whether that's the Ravens that they can't win in the playoffs, whether that's Jimmy G and your 49ers, whether they can't win the whole thing with their ability to not have a quarterback play well. With the Titans as well, there's a lot of teams. Maybe people out there, if there's still people out there who doubt the Dolphins and Tua, we can talk, but I don't think so. So lots of teams this year, I think, that are going to be worth talking about and having different, I guess, ideas about, more so than past years, honestly, too. So I think it'll be fun. All right, Cincinnati Bengals favored by 1.5 points at the Tennessee Titans. This is a rematch of the playoff game a season ago. Cecil, who you going with?
I'm going with the Bengals right now. I got to go with the Bengals, and I got to pick them to cover such a small spread because they are favored by 1.5.
Yes.
So they are road favorites. Mm-hmm. How far we've come. I don't think that the line, I think, has really moved on this game since it opened up 2 days ago as well. I think last I heard the Titans were 1.5 point favorites, and it's flipped all the way to the Bengals. So that's going to be an interesting line to probably fall throughout this week. But yeah, I mean, we're talking, this is probably a dead heat matchup. The Bengals, it's close enough to Cincinnati won so that there's going to be probably a good road presence from Bengals fans. A lot of people around the city seem to be wanting to travel to this game. So there will be a good amount of Bengals fans, I feel like, in the stadium. It's a rematch of, a big matchup and a big upset in the playoffs last year. And both these teams are getting hot at the right time. So I think this is one of the marquee matchups, obviously, of this week. This is one of those games that you maybe could have flexed to prime time. I'm totally fine with playing at 1 o'clock. Way less pressure, way less throwing that routine off. And I just think the Bengals are going to limit Derrick Henry enough. If they can just work on the communication as a secondary to not let a receiver get behind him and Ryan Tannehill take advantage of it, I think they'll be in a good spot. Jamar Chase might come back. It's just pretty much, if Joe Burrow is playing at this level, I think they find a way to win against a team that, like we've said multiple times, the Titans aren't going to beat you by a bunch of points. That's not their game. They're just going to wear you out, and they're going to push you to the end. But if Joe Burrow has the ball at the end, I mean, anything can happen. They can very well get to victory just like they did last year. So I'm picking the Bengals.
Yeah, this game does concern me because the Titans, we talk about hot teams in the league. We talk about the Commanders. We talk about other teams in the league. The Titans, they have one loss since week 2. It was to the Chiefs in overtime. I mean, that's pretty intense. They played, like as you said earlier, so he's way better than maybe the talent level on their roster. They really come together as a team and play well. The key to the game, obviously, stopping the run without sacrificing your entire secondary like the Packers did. That's why the secondary is a key. But I'm picking the Bengals. If DJ Reader was not back for this game, I would pick the Titans in a heartbeat. He's a key to stopping the run for the Bengals. But since he's healthy, I'm going Bengals. I think he can help them out. I think that's going to be, again, the major factor. If he can kind of just wreak havoc on that interior of the Titans' offensive line, that's what's going to be big to stopping Derrick Henry and the run. Remember, this is a game where the Titans will want that revenge from the playoffs, and also Derrick Henry still did not look 100%, so he's going to want some revenge too. I'm going Bengals to win by about a field goal. It should be a fun game, and yes, we will all be watching, even though it's at 1 o'clock and not maybe flexed into the primetime slots, like maybe it should be, honestly. Next one up, we have the Atlanta Falcons at the red-hot Washington Commanders. Commanders favored by 4.
Give me those Commanders to win and cover. Like you said, they are one of the hotter teams. Tara Heineke is playing well, and the Falcons are falling apart down the stretch because they have no solutions other than running the ball. So Tyler Heineke is a gamer. He's going to advance the ball and do whatever he can to make sure this team wins. So, you got to pick the hot team and two teams that aren't very talented. You got to go with a hot hand.
Heck yeah, I'm going Commanders to win and cover as well. Like I mentioned earlier, just Heineke came in, gave him some juice, man. He's not the guy who like has the strongest arm or makes the most sound decisions, but he kind of scrambles around, makes things happen. He's, in my opinion, what like the perfect backup quarterback is. Like he just kind of can make things happen when things break down. It's not the same old game manager backup quarterback or a backup quarterback who has elite tools but really can't read a defense. This is the guy who I think can do a little bit of everything here. A guy worth looking at maybe being the starter next year if he keeps on finishing the year well. I'm picking Commanders to win and cover. Cecil, that means that the Commanders will win by a field goal and just make everyone bad.
Yeah. Well, Taylor Heineke's listening to his Taylor Swift albums as he was probably waiting in line to get tickets. And he knew, he's been telling the Commanders if he could be the man, he would be the man.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay.
Well, we're trying to appeal to a broader audience. That's what our producers have said. So we need to appeal to more people than just those who watch movies from the 80s and early 90s.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to do. Taylor Swift is very popular.
Okay, cool. Management has been on us to diversify and to do more than just football, but that's our whole life, man. I don't know. So we'll keep on talking about NFL games. Probably easier to get a ticket to an NFL game than a Taylor Swift concert. I do know that much. That's for sure.
But the Taylor Swift concert is at the Bengals Stadium, so in a way, it is our job.
Oh, got it. Cecil, do you have tickets to this concert?
I do actually.
Cecil, sell those, man. Come on, what are you doing?
Oh no, those things are priceless at this point. The only thing I'd sell them for are Bengals Super Bowl tickets.
Is that your decision?
I can't disclose that at this time, but maybe we'll talk about it off the air.
All right, we'll talk about it off the air. We'll move on to the Sunday evening games. Cease, we have the Los Angeles Chargers favored by 3.5 points on the road at the Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals short week, and they got blown out by the San Francisco 49ers last week.
Yes, they did, and that was another glorious game I didn't get to recap, but it's good to see the 49ers rolling. But this is all about the Cardinals and how they suck. They're really bad. They are not good. That is my analysis. Kyler Murray, I don't care who the starting quarterback is. It's just a dumpster fire. Cliff Kingsbury needs to go, and ultimately they are going to get killed in this game. The Chargers are way better, and they played really well against the Chiefs. So I get to pick the Chargers on the road, winning cover.
Yeah, the only thing that concerns me is that the Chargers always play the Chiefs tough, but that doesn't mean they're playing well otherwise. Like, they lost to the Chiefs twice by 3, and everyone's like, oh boy, here we go. This is good. This is what they're going to do what they want, and they're still 5-5, and they lost the next game to the Jaguars by 28 after the first time they played the Chiefs. But other than that, everything else on paper says pick the Chargers. Chargers win and cover. I'm with it. I talked to you guys a couple weeks ago about the Cardinals are a really bad team, and getting DeAndre Hopkins back actually has made a huge impact where they're better. But at what point does having the wide receiver with either Colt McCoy or Kyler Murray, who coincidentally hasn't played since Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 came out, that's a coincidence right there. I don't know.
He knows what he's best at, man. He knows what sometimes you got to do you. And, the streaming game's pretty big these days.
I guess so. So, yeah, Chargers win and cover. No matter who's the quarterback for the Cardinals, I don't care. I think they're a bad team. Cliff Kingsbury. See, here's an interesting conversation. Cliff Kingsbury has been a guy who's failed upward, right? He won 5 games with Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech, and then he got fired, and he got hired by the Cardinals because he's an offensive guru, even though he only won 5 games. Where do you go from here if you get fired from an NFL team? How do you fail upward? I say the only thing better than being an NFL head coach is probably being president of the United States. I think we have to elect him president.
We have had a lot of athletes and coaches make big national ramification runs through the last couple years. We're not going to make this political by any means, but yeah, I mean, he very well could. Or, we could do the sort of Eric Mangini, Rex Ryan route where you just fail into another team.
That's true. He's gonna go.
These guys just magically. I've never understood the logic unless you're someone like Andy Reid, where it made a lot of sense because Andy Reid was really good for a long time. But some of these guys, like, never were good. They get fired, and then they're like, yes, we want that guy. We want the guy who never put it together for more than a season. Let's hire that man and let him do the same thing here for 10 years.
You know what?
You ever notice that? Like,
Yeah.
what is that?
I don't know. I think having relationships is more important than actually being good at your job. That's probably true for all fields of life, honestly.
And that's very true probably for Cliff Kingsbury.
I mean, honestly, yeah. And you know what? You said it, Cease. He's going to be the hand-picked successor to Bill Belichick a couple years because you can't give it to Josh McDaniels anymore. That's not.
No,
that's off the table.
I mean, they know defense. I mean, they got Matt Patricia and his pencil of destiny.
Mm-hmm.
All they really need is somebody in offense. And then there's one guy who claims he knows offense. It's Cliff Kingsbury. But honestly, I wish I could be as half as bad, but as twice as good as he is at doing things, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. If you could be so, I don't want to say not good at your job. I don't like criticizing people like that, but you know what I mean. Like not winning games ever, and still be getting head coaching jobs, paid millions of dollars. I would like that. I could take the criticism. I could do it.
Maybe it's not a spectrum, Maybe it's not like terrible to great. Maybe it's a circle where maybe the worst, maybe if Bill Belichick played the worst NFL coach 100 times with the same level talent team, they would each win 50 times.
I don't know, buddy. That's above my. I can't figure that one out. My brain's broken.
Yeah, man. I don't know, man. I mean, think about it. Maybe just it's possible. Bill Belichick isn't infallible.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, well, he's had to cheat to win some games. That kind of throws the infallible thing out, but that's all right. We don't want to get into too much controversy tonight. We'll keep it moving. We talked about Josh McDaniels. The Raiders traveled to the Seahawks. Seahawks favored by 3.5. Raiders got that win over the Broncos. Does that lead to momentum? I don't know. Seahawks coming off a bye, Cease.
Yeah, it doesn't. You beating the terrible Broncos team doesn't do anything. And you beat them in overtime. Devontae Adams, looked good. That's important. But their defense still sucks. So that's the big problem here. Seattle's coming off a bye. They're very much in a red-hot hunt for the NFC West with my San Francisco 49ers, as they are now known on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So every win for them counts. The Raiders, who cares? That's what it's becoming. At this point, I care about how many yards does Josh Jacobs score against me, because I seem to always play him in some fantasy league of the infinite number of leagues I'm in. Mm-hmm. And in the inverse, how many points is Devontae Adams going to get me? Everything outside of that, I do not care, and the rest of the NFL should not either.
Wow. Don't care about the Seahawks, man. Okay, cool. Seahawks are going to win and cover. Coming off of the bye, I trust Pete Carroll. Geno Smith's having a great year. All that stuff. The Raiders are bad. That's all I got. That's all I got to tell you. Josh McDaniels is bad. Shouldn't have a job.
Seahawks good, Raiders bad.
Boom. All right, New Orleans Saints at the San Francisco 49ers. 49ers, your 49ers favored by 8 points.
I'm going to go 49ers to win. And, you know what, let's pick them to cover too, because the Saints offense, their quarterback situation is terrible. They showed little signs of life this week, but I think that's going to come to a close against a very tough team to play. They, Saints got to travel all the way to the 49ers, and, that's a far away for a road game. It's late in the season. I think the 49ers will have this one in the bag, and the defense is going to fire on all cylinders. And honestly, there's so many weapons on this 49ers offense right now. Jimmy G just has to – all he's got to do is just not mess it up. That's all he's got to do. It's just not throw turnovers, and he'll be fine. That's all he's got to do. Sit there, smile, wave to the cameras after the game, talk about how it was such a team effort that you guys all won, and just take the wins and just keep them coming.
Um, yeah, I'm going to go the 49ers to win, but the Saints with the points. As mentioned, not a team that often blows out teams. Now, they did just blow out the Cardinals, but as we talked about, the Cardinals stink. And they blow out teams who stink. I think the Saints are like stink plus. They're above that. They're just a little above that.
Stink plus.
Stink.
All right, not quite average, but not quite the worst.
Yeah, I think they're right there. And Andy Dalton played well this week. I wish they'd make a quarterback change to Jameis because it's more fun watching Jameis than Andy Dalton. But, this will probably be a game where the 49ers win by a touchdown. Maybe it's a backdoor cover by the Saints or something. Again, just not a team that blows teams out. And the Saints have played well at times this year. It's just so up and down with them. But I'll take my chances. 49ers 4-4 against the spread. They beat the spread last week. Probably on pace to not beat the spread this week. Cecil, next week we're going to have some sort of wager because my Miami Dolphins play your San Francisco 49ers. 2-on versus whatever you want to call your fandom. I don't even know what to call it, but we'll have some sort of wager going on.
I'll figure out a name for my fan base by next week's podcast.
Oh, please do. Please do. Next one up, we have the Los Angeles Rams at the Kansas City Chiefs. This will be far from the matchup on Monday Night Football a couple of years ago that was considered one of the best games of all time. Matthew Stafford's injured. Cooper Kupp's injured. Chiefs favored by 14.5. Might seem like a big number, but Rams are playing pretty bad this year, and with those two guys out, I don't know, Cease.
They got to throw that half point in there. They just got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Vegas knows what they're doing. You know what? Give it to me anyway. Chiefs, the winning cover. Rams don't. I mean, they don't have an offense right now. They don't really have much on defense. Chiefs are rolling, man. I mean, they're in it to win it. They don't lose games late in the season like this till we hit January. And they're very much in play for the number one seed. So they got everything to play for. And the Rams, I don't even know if Matt Stafford's going to play. I don't think that changes the outcome too much, even if he does.
If I knew he was playing and healthy, I think I'd take the points. But even if he plays, I don't think he's healthy. So I'm going to take Chiefs to win and cover. Honestly, they've looked really good this year. No one can stop Travis Kelce. He had one 4-touchdown game, one 3-touchdown game. Looks really good. So I'm going to go Chiefs.
Yeah, and fun fact, the Rams may have given up a top 5 overall pick by the way that their season is going right now to the Lions this year. So that'll be fun. A lot of teams gave up a lot of high picks this year. Russell Wilson, the Seahawks are going to get the Broncos high pick. It's just a lot of bonehead trades that we went through this season. So just a little fun fact there.
Yeah, Cecil's dynasty team giving up a lot of picks. If he doesn't win the championship, it is a waste. At least the Rams won a championship. You got to prove yourself, buddy.
Oh, man, it's coming.
All right, we'll see. That's a guarantee. You heard it here first.
Yep.
Sunday Night Football sees the Green Bay Packers at the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles favored by 7 points. They are 9-1. Packers would likely have to win out to have a shot at making the playoffs. That seems even like that might be unlikely.
Yeah, giving the Eagles to win and cover in this, I think it's going to be right around that touchdown mark. It's in Philadelphia, so that's always difficult. And again, there's just not enough from what I'm seeing from Aaron Rodgers and his receiver corps to make me feel like they're going to be able to keep up points wise.
I'm going Eagles to win, Packers with the points. I do think this was a tough spread to pick against, as you mentioned. But I think the Eagles are kind of faltering here. I mean, they lost the game to the Commanders. They freak out and they sign 2 interior defensive linemen, Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh, who I'm sure they'll make an impact. But how many defensive linemen do you need? Like, Jesus. Fletcher.
You can never have enough linemen.
I know. I agree. I just, at what point are they going to be signed Warren Sapp or whatever? We're getting to a point. But, and other than that, so they lose the Commanders. They sign those guys. They play the Colts. They look like they're going to lose all game long, and then Jalen Hurts brings them back. I mean, the Colts have not played well this year at all, and that just, I don't know, it makes me feel weird. So I'm going to say Aaron Rodgers keeps it within a touchdown. He still has pride. He probably still has some belief that they can make the playoffs, and if he does have any belief in that, they have to win this game. They have to win out pretty much. So I'm going Packers with the points, Eagles to win. Monday Night Football sees another one. You could probably, if you have a significant other, you can say, hey, this might be one we want to skip. It might be competitive, but I don't know. We got the Steelers and the Colts. Mentioned how the Steelers have been bad this year, can't score points unless they're playing the Bengals apparently. And the Colts seem like they're getting things going, but it's we'll see how that goes. Colts favored by 2.5 at home.
When does ESPN Flex scheduling begin? Is that this year or next year?
I think it's next year. I think it's the new contract next year when everything's up in the air.
I was gonna say because that the Bengals game gets flexed out of Sunday night, but this game stays. If flexing's a possibility, it's a travesty. Yeah, this is one where it's just not a game that matters much for any kind of ramifications unless you have Jonathan Taylor really, or if you're one of the poor people who have had to have Najee Harris on your team the entire year, and you just keep starting him because you really can't not start him because you feel like, what did you waste your entire first round pick on? So yeah, it's not fun for either of these teams right now. I guess Colts are playing decently well. I'll watch it just because I want to see Jeff Saturday continue to coach a team after just being on ESPN for a couple of years. So yeah, this is on the must-watch meter. This is definitely one you can watch the highlights and be just fine. So I'm going to give me the Colts to win, but I'm going to say it's going to be close, so I'm going to get the Steelers the points.
Oh, hedging your bet there. All right, I'm going Colts to win. Colts to win and cover. I don't know. They're playing good football. Almost beat the Eagles. Beat the Raiders. Jeff Saturday's got them improving. They actually run the ball with Jonathan Taylor well now. Matt Ryan, I don't think was ever the issue. He didn't look great, but I don't think he was ever the biggest issue on the team. So Colts win and cover. And Cease, I mean, you're right. You can watch this game because I think if you have Taylor Swift tickets, you get a brownie points for at least the next 10 years, or at least until she tours the next time. So you got plenty of brownie points bought in.
Well, I didn't. So let's clear this up. I didn't find them. I didn't rain blows it down upon a 12-year-old to take their Taylor Swift tickets.
Nah.
My girlfriend, bless her heart, waited in the online queue 4 hours, her entire day, and she got the chance to get tickets. So I'm just going. I'm going, and I like Taylor Swift, and I'm not afraid for the fans of this podcast to know it. I'm coming out of the closet as a Taylor Swift fan. I like Taylor Swift. I like all of her music, and I'm not afraid to let you know about it.
Got it. And whose laptop was she using to wait in the queue?
This laptop right here.
Oh, so yours. Okay, brownie points. That counts.
Oh, this is not my laptop. We're going to have to talk about that after this.
Oh, my gosh. Okay. Well, we had a good chance there to have you have a free pass to watch all the football that you want Thursday, Monday night, Sunday. If you wanted to watch more college football, you could, and you just threw it down the drain. I don't know. Still get brownie points.
Threw it all away. You're right.
You still get brownie points for going to the concert, in my opinion. Taylor Swift is great, but I don't know. They got Joe Burrow in that stadium now. That's probably Taylor Swift's like the 10th best person ever to be in that stadium. Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, what if Joe Burrow shows up on stage?
Then I think less of Joe Burrow. I think he's got better things to do. He should.
Wow.
You think he's just reading his playbook in the offseason? He doesn't do anything outside of football.
You don't think Joe Burrow listens to Taylor Swift at all?
No.
I bet he does. I'm going to challenge you on that. I'm going to challenge your concept of Joe Burrow.
I think maybe it's a joke.
It's one of his pleasures, and I don't even think he even feels guilty about it.
You just want Joe.
That's a debate for another time.
You just want Joe Burrow to like Taylor Swift, so you don't feel weird liking Taylor Swift. I got it.
I don't feel weird now. You're the one who's being weird about it.
You're the one blushing, buddy. I don't know.
I'm not weird. You're weird.
Okay, cool. Well, that's way too much Taylor Swift talk for an NFL podcast. Try to get you some brownie points there. Cease, any final thoughts on football for the week?
No, but the movie references were in full force tonight. I think that power outage, I don't know what happened. It was like a short circuit. So I'm really excited about where this podcast is going for the next couple weeks.
Yeah, Angels in the outfield, Rocky. It was pretty good.
Even a short circuit reference.
That's true. And, we'll get some more next week. I think we've died down on the movie references. We got to bring them back somehow more.
Yeah, we're ramping them back up. We're rounding into mid-season form, as they'd say.
Absolutely. Well, I don't have any final thoughts, but I will ask everyone to like and subscribe to the podcast, whether that's on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts at. That helps us out. We appreciate anyone who does that. We're thankful for everyone. It is Thanksgiving week. We want to remind everyone to have a happy Thanksgiving. Watch some good football. Thanks for listening. We'll see everyone next week.
Thanks, guys.